This is a revision. How can we compute variance and standard deviation? For ungrouped data, we can use this formula that the variance equal to the summation of x square dividing by n minus the mean square, where x here is our values, n is the number of data that we have it, while the standard deviation will be equal to the square root of the variance. Let's substitute this formula in the following example. So in our example, the marks for 10 students in a model are listed below, which are shown here. So then calculate variance and standard deviation. To use this formula, we have to compute variance first, and to find variance, we need to find the mean. So we have to create a table similar to this. I already made it, it's done, but how can we create it? Just enter the value of x as I enter it here according to your data, which is available here. Then find the x square for each one. It's similar as I did, that 15 square is equal to 225, and 10 square is equal to 100, 20 square is equal to 400, and so on. By the end, find the sum of x and find also the sum of x square. Then you will be ready to find variance and standard deviation. To find the variance, I need to find the mean first. So mean is equal to the summation of your value dividing by n. The summation of x according to our value is equal to 160. And how many data we have? We have 10 students, marks of 10 students. So let's substitute. It will be equal to 160 dividing by 10, which gave you 16. Then variance is equal to summation of the square of your value dividing by n minus mean square. And as the table shows, the summation of x square is equal to 2702 for 10 students. So let's substitute. So this will be equal to 2702 dividing by 10 minus mean square. And the mean square, that means 16 square. So this will give you the value of 14.2, and this is your value of variance. And then to find the standard deviation, let me write it as a shortcut. Standard deviation is equal to the square root of variance. That means it is the square root of 14.2, which is equal to 3.7. So this is when you have ungrouped data. We apply the formula of variance and standard deviation easily. Then the second part, if we have group data, how can we find variance and standard deviation? Again, we have to use this formula. Mean is equal to the frequency, summation of frequency multiplied by what we call it as x, and x here is representing the midpoint, dividing by n, and n here is representing the summation of the frequency, and variance is equal to the summation of x squared dividing by the summation of frequency minus mean square. And the standard deviation is similar to the ungrouped data, which is equal to the square root of the variance. Let's consider the following example. Find the variance and standard deviation for the following data, and we have how many classes? Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 classes with its corresponding frequency. To apply our formula for the variance and standard deviation, we have to create a table similar to the table as shown here. You have to enter your classes and the corresponding frequencies, and then you have to find the x, and as I say, it's the midpoint. Okay, I already calculated here, but as you know, how can we find a midpoint? It's equal to lower limit plus the upper limit dividing by 2. The first number of the class, this is what we call it as a lower limit, and the last number is the upper limit. Okay, so let's calculate it for the first class. So it will be equal to 4 plus 8 dividing by 2. So it's equal to 4 plus 8 dividing by 2, which gave you 12 dividing by 2, which is equal to 6. Which is the same value I just wrote it here. And the same thing, if you want to find the midpoint for the second class, that's mean it will be 8 plus 12. It will be 8 plus 12 dividing by 2. This is equal to 20 dividing by 2, which is equal to 10. And again, it's similar this value, which I already wrote it on the table. And so on. You can find the midpoint for remaining values. Then Also, we have to find x square in order to substitute it in our equation. So x square, that's mean it's just squaring x multiplied by x. So let's do it together. So 6 square will give you 36. 10 square, it's 100. Then 14 square is equal to 196. 18 square, it's equal to 324. 22 square will give you 484. 26 square will give you 676. And the last one, 30 square, will give you 900. The multiplication between 5 and 6, which will give you 30. Yeah, it's correct. 30. Then 10 multiplied by 10 will give you 100. Then 18 multiplied 14 will give you 252. 30 multiplied 18 will give you 540. Then 15 multiplied by 22 will give you 330. 12 multiplied 26 will give you 312. And the last one, 10 multiplied 30 will give you 300. Then to find the frequency multiplied by x square, that's mean I'm going to multiply frequency with the value of x square. So let's do it again together. So 5 multiplied 36 will give you 180. Then 10 multiply 100 will give you 1000. 18 multiply with 196 will give you 3528. 3528. Then 30 multiply 324 will give you 9720. Then again 15 multiply 484 will give you 7260. Then 12 multiply 26 will give you 8112. And the last one, 10 multiply 900 will give you 9000. Now we are ready to apply our equation. Let's find the mean. So the mean here will be equal to what? Mean is equal to the summation of the frequency multiplied by x dividing by n, and that will be equal to, what is the summation of fx? So we have to find the summation of x first. So I have to find the summation of this column, and that's equal to 1864 dividing by n, and n here is the summation of the frequency. It's the summation of this column, which is equal to 100. So that will give you 18.64. This is what we call it as x bar. It's the mean. And then to find variance, according to the formula, it will be equal to the summation of the frequency multiply with x square dividing by n minus the mean square, and that will be equal to summation of this column dividing by summation of frequency minus the mean square, which is this value. So let's substitute. So what is the summation of fx square? Just you have to add all these values together, and that will be equal to 38,800. So it's 38,800 dividing by n, which is the summation of frequency, which is equal to 100, then minus the mean square, that's mean minus 18.64 square, and that will give you the value of the variance, which is equal to 40.55. And then to find the standard deviation, it's equal to the square root of variance. That's mean it's the square root of 40.55 will give you 6.36. So this is the standard deviation. I hope it's clear how can we compute variance and standard deviation if you have ungrouped data or group data. That's it. All the best.